Okay, today I have some of these Osram LED fluorescent tubes. They're a replacement for the 36 watt and I guess the 40 watt one as well. They're like the slimline 36 size. They're 16 watt by the look of it. And yeah, 4000K by the look of it. So I think they're sort of slightly warm, or cool white they are. I thought they were slightly warm, but they're not the really bad white ones. Not the really blue ones. True wave technology, whatever that is meant to be. SubstiTUBE. Looks like it's this ST8V 1.2 meter 16 watt 840 EM. 120 milliamps. I guess it's 30,000 hours expected. Yeah, instant full light. They do come on instantly, which is really good. Like, even with electronic starters and stuff on your fluoros, you notice these are even quicker. Basically just like any other light that comes on instantly. Non-dimmable. G13, is that the type of fitting, I guess? Don't think it tells you much else. There's no mercury in it. Magnetic, well, it works with magnetic ballast. I think it actually said somewhere not to. Less intense blue light, natural light spectrum. And it certainly is nicer than a lot of those really horrible cold lights. And must run at around 25 degrees in open air. I think it said something lamp to be used in dry conditions or luminaire that provides protection. Oh, that's fair enough. Suitable for 50 or 60 hertz. Not suitable for emergency operation, possibly those emergency lights. Dimming not allowed, LED replacement starter, so it comes with a starter which I assume is just a short circuit. Yeah, any construction change of luminaire in case of applying retrofit LED lamps should not be permitted. And not to be used in explosive environments. Yeah, it's interesting, you think you'd be able to, LED Vance Proprietary Limited, I think you'd be able to get rid of the ballast and stuff, but unfortunately these ones, when I got them home from Bunnings, turns out they were broken. Not as bad as this, but they had some cracks in them. And of course I left them lying around because I thought I'll have a closer look at what's inside them, and then I knocked them over and really broke them, so I couldn't even really take them back. I think they were broken in store because I was pretty careful bringing them home, but at least we get to see what's inside it. But they're basically a similar sort of tube to the normal fluorescent ones, except you'd normally be able to wipe the phosphor off that. I did see something online that maybe these have maybe these have ultraviolet LEDs in them, and so much like a real fluorescent tube that emits on the arc in it, puts out UV, and then the phosphor coating converts it. But these look more like just a diffuser to me, but you never know. Looks like we've got a capacitor in that end. So normally, and they come with a starter attached to one end to replace the original starter, because obviously these don't have filaments and don't want a bimetallic starter type thing to use in them, because they wouldn't pull enough power to make it do anything, and obviously they don't need it anyway. Fuse for LED use. So oh yeah, it's got a 2 amp 250 volt HBC type fuse, so maybe there's a fuse in there in case someone plugs a normal tube into it. Looks like, yeah, there's some sort of fuse up probably a ceramic one up in the end of this. I guess we could pop this open and have a look inside. I assume to be some sort of short circuit, because the way the original lamps wired up is like the active comes into one of these end pins. You've got a filament in there between the pins, then it goes out the other pin, through a starter, like a proper bimetallic starter, back through one of the pins on the other end, and then back out again to active or neutral, whichever one it wasn't hooked to on the other end, through a ballast, which is just a big choke, big inductor to reduce the current, because once these things strike up an arc, it just keeps pulling more and more power, I think, unless you basically current limit it. I don't know if we can get these apart easily or not. They should pop open, I think. All the old ones used to. And there we go. Oh yeah, so just there's a little ceramic fuse in there, so it is just a short circuit. So normally you'd just, because the original fitting has basically a starter socket between two of the pins, one on each end, and active and neutral on the other. I mean, in theory, this lamp, you think they're just hooked through the active and neutral, but they probably don't know which pin's which. So maybe they do go into this thing. Actually, is one end even connected? It probably isn't. That would be even more likely. Yeah, that's not even connected to anything as far as the LED lighting strip goes. So that's just a capacitor in there. So oh, what is it, even a capacitor? T250 milliamp, 250 volts. So it is just, it's not, I think that's another fuse. That makes even more sense. I was going to say, why would I have a capacitor? You'd want to just pass the voltage straight through. So what they'd be doing is the active would come into one of these pins, they're going to pass it straight through to the other pin. That's going to go down a wire and the light fitting to the starter socket. They're going to put another short circuit in there and pass that voltage on to the other end. And then the other end of the tube, the other pin on it will already, yeah, that's what I originally thought they probably have, will have the other active or neutral on it. And that's why this end of the tube here is just designed for active and neutral to come straight in. So the way to get the one that's missing, you don't know with these fittings, because these can go in either way around, and sometimes the fittings are wired differently, so it's either going to have active on that pin or neutral on one of those pins, and then you've got to get the circuit back through the pin that isn't connected to the power, through the starter and to the other side of the mains voltage. So that's how that works. I don't see there's any reason why we can't just hook this up. It's got V plus and minus, not sure what voltage. Is that an actual step down transformer, or is it some sort of little switch mode? I can see a bridge rectifier, or maybe two of them. Or is one of those an IC, or yeah, it's got U1 written next to it, so it's probably some sort of little chopper transistor IC thing to reduce the voltage. I mean, we could put this in a fluoro fitting just to see. Oh, that's actually, it looks like the pins are pressed onto the plastic and then the board's soldered to them. You'd think it would still come out though, but I don't think it's going to. So there's no reason. I don't think this needs a ballast to protect it. I think I should be safe to hook that up to 240 just directly. Well, I'll soon find out, I guess. One good test to do is to see, do they blow up if we hook them straight to 240? Which I'd say is very unlikely. So let's get the terminal block on there. And hopefully all the LEDs are still in good nick. So it looks like they've actually stuck this strip to the inside. Nothing. Interesting. I would have thought I'd do something. But whether I've actually damaged more than meets the eye, because if I've torn these LEDs up or anything, you'd expect to get some sort of voltage there. Oh yeah, oh, 320 volts. Something seems to be open circuit. Okay, I removed all the glass and I had to repair, there was actually a little tear in it. So there we go. Or two little tears in it, but that's it. So we just hooked up directly to the 240 volts. But yeah, where the tube end had been moving around a bit, it actually tore a couple of these tracks, so I've just soldered from one LED to another there, and it turns out this end LED goes all the way back to the positive, just a single track all the way back, so the rest must be in a chain. I'll have a look again. No, wrong thing, I unplugged it just to be safe. See what sort of voltage is on there. I guess I assume it's still going to be pretty high DC voltage going into these lights. It is 107 volts. Don't want to put my finger on that mains connector, but I need to hold this still a bit. Minus because I'm round backwards on the multimeter, but yeah, 107 volt into that chain of LEDs, so they put a fairly high voltage in there. And the other thing I was thinking is, I've got one of these backlight testers for televisions. So it might be interesting to hook that up to it and see how this thing actually works. At least I've got something to play with that if I blow it up I don't really care. I mean, this is basically useless as any sort of LED strip light or anything because, well, for starters, none of the LEDs are actually insulated, and of course they've got high voltage on them, so they're no good for anything like that. But it is interesting to see what's actually inside there. And yeah, they basically just glued these strips on all the way down one side of the LED tube, so they're obviously not going to have much light output in the wrong direction, but that doesn't really matter because unless you had one of those fluorescent light fittings with a silver backlight in it, then you're pretty much wasting a lot of that light anyway. But they do work well. What you're looking at on the camera now is actually lit up by a pair of them. I thought I'd try a couple in the fluorescent light fitting here, and yeah, they're really good. Can't complain. Some people said they flicker and stuff, and maybe some people can notice it, but to me, they're every bit as good, and in some ways better than a normal fluorescent tube. It'll just be a matter of seeing how long they actually last, because these are about $20 versus about $4, and I've got a heap of second-hand, like new old stock tubes anyway, so I'll never have to buy another tube in my life, I wouldn't think. But I thought I'd try some of these LED ones out. There's a couple of places I wouldn't mind actually upgrading. Even with the electronic ballasts, they're a little slow to get going. It'd be nice to actually have them just come on instantly. So there's a couple up there I've actually got the electronic starters on them, and even those are a little bit slow to get going. By the time you turn the light on and start walking, you're already a few steps into the building before the lights have even come on, so that's not real good. So I might try that on this LED tester and we'll see how we go. Okay, I might have a play with this thing. I've been meaning to get this out of its box and have a go at it. And it's been on the back burner. I do have an LED backlit TV somewhere that I do have to get onto one day. Now just got to be careful with this because this puts out high voltage. These probes are a bit weird, but try not to touch the probes. So let's turn it on. I guess we'll put it on low current and maybe hook up to this thing and see what it does, if anything. Which is nothing. Okay. Maybe we turn the voltage right up. I don't know what the voltage, oh here we go. Ooh, 200 volts, we probably don't want that much. What did I say it was? 107. Ooh, yeah, we saw something flick up. 1.3 milliamp at 92 volts. That's at low current. Got to be careful, I'm not used to having probes that have... There we go. High current, 15 milliamps. That's probably something like what it was. Well, what did it say on the specs? Oh, 120 milliamps it's meant to be good at. I don't know if this thing can supply that much, or how much it's meant to use. That's set to about 115 volts. The voltage drops to 94. Oh, well, that thing seems to work. Let's turn the voltage right down, I guess is the safest thing to do. So that does test that. I was going to have a look at some of those LED light bulbs. I think that one's definitely faulty because it says so, and that one's faulty. So I've got a Philips and an Osram, which both look kind of similar. But yeah, these cheapo things have a habit to not always last. One of these I was actually meant to take back under warranty because it failed fairly quickly, but I never got round to it. It sort of disappeared somewhere and I forgot about it. How do we actually get into these things? I think they're glued on these end bits. Can I get it off without breaking anything inside though? Oh, I guess if that keeps peeling off we'll get there eventually. Or should that, but that should just pop out, shouldn't it? Goes to show the plastic is not the greatest stuff on earth. I think that's pretty well glued in there, to be honest. Yeah, it's definitely got a lot of glue. Don't not give away though. Problem is, if that suddenly goes, who knows what it's going to do. I should get this other LED string the hell out of here, because it's only good for e-waste now, I think. Here we go. Yeah, well, you can see that black dot there is probably a dead bit. I think they usually go like that when they die. Let's put this down to what voltage can we do? As low as 15 volts. I don't know how automatic this thing is. I guess we better assume that there's potential for the outlet of this thing to do something nasty. Oh, something just lit up. No. Assume they're all the same way around, but maybe. Oh, why do they take a while to come on? Don't know if these things risk burning the LEDs out or what the story is with them really, but saying something's going on there, but nothing's happening. They're a bit dangerous, these things, because potentially voltage could come out the other end. 7 volts. Just go down to 1 volt. Is that one backwards? That one's bright. I'll better put these on low current, I guess. Even if it just makes it less bright, because they are quite bright. 3 volts. A couple of them don't seem to work, but maybe there's a couple. Oh, they're all in series. I can see it on the circuit board. So maybe that faulty one took out more. Maybe, yeah. Well, that looks like it's in series with that, but maybe it isn't. So got 2 light up there. They look like they're all in series, which is what you would expect. But interestingly, oh, is this one to the ground thing? Oh, no, they're all like that. Why are we only getting some lighting up like pairs? Yet they all seem to be in series. That one's seemingly cooked. None of these seem to light. Well, they were going that weird. It was beeping sometimes and saying it's... Oh, because those 2 pins I think are joined together on the outer... No, maybe they're not. Comes up with like 7 volts and it drops. Don't know if a higher voltage will help. Probably shouldn't really, but... Put more current in there maybe. They're showing 0 volts, 5.7 milliamps. So I wonder if that's shorted. Now I can't get these on. Oh, there we go. That doesn't light to there. So you got those ones. That's really weird. I guess we should be able to, well, I don't know whether these segments, often these are multi-LED, so you can't just measure across them the normal forward voltage drop-on diode test. That was the big problem with some of this stuff, because it's got several LEDs in series in each chip. Yeah, like there's no measurement, so you need a higher voltage than what the multimeter can produce. None of these measure as short or anything. So I think those pins are just joined, is that right? That's super weird that 3 of them don't work. Well, how on earth can they... If they're hooked through this one, that doesn't make any sense. That's some infrared LED or something, are they? But whether they're just rebadging the same junk... Well, that capacitor doesn't look too happy. Fancy putting an electrolytic capacitor in a light that runs hot. Supposedly these things do last a lot longer. People reckon even just taking that cover off makes them last a lot longer, but of course then you've got dangerous voltages. I guess if they're in some sort of fitting it probably doesn't matter. Actually, I don't want the multimeter, do I? Want the... Would be interesting to hook it up to 240 volts and just see what voltage these things have got in them. So now we've got to try and guesstimate our way through this. Well, these are single looking chips. This one may well have an issue with that power supply or something. These seem to flicker up even when I just put one thing on there. So this might have good LED chips. It's weird, I can see a whole lot of them flick up before I even connect. So I think the Philips is more likely something to do with that cap or something. I think I've done them all well and truly now. But they don't seem to be in any sort of chain. Though they do look... That's the weird thing, it's not the other one. They look like they're all in series. Do I need a higher voltage? Maybe that's my thing. Ah, that's it. You won't get anything to happen if you don't have a high enough voltage, let's face it. They might be the other end of the chain. Hopefully I didn't blow it up. No, they're joined together. That's one end of the chain, I think. So one would assume, oh careful, I don't want to be touching these things. I would assume that's the other end of the chain there. Something happened. Come on people. Oh, it only lights when I go there, so maybe that one's dud. Didn't I light that one up though? Yeah, they all light except that end one. Let's turn the voltage down. That end one's dud. By the look of things, oh no, that one's lighting now. When I go across there, it's not very bright, but it's there. What the? Now I can't get it to do it now. Did I break something? Huh, weird. Uh-oh. What have I done to it? Maybe I just blew it all up. Be my luck. That one's going. I thought I checked them all and they're all good though individually, so that would, I think it's number, that's 8. Number 6 I think it was. 7. 6. That's one end of the chain goes to this transistor. Maybe that's the reason. That is probably the other end of the chain goes to this capacitor. So is it, it's something in the power supply blown maybe. There's always that possibility. And I could have charged that cap up, poking this thing in there. That probably ain't good. I don't know that a FET should be measuring like that. If it is a FET, which it most likely is, we've got a bridge rectifier or a fuse. Is that a fuse, F1? Or is that where the power comes in? Where's the F1? That's got to be power in, surely. $240 volt in. That would just be your filter cap, I take it. That comes into the bridge. Bridge. That goes to that chain of resistors. That goes to that. Which doesn't go to that. That's the output of that thing. Now that doesn't go to the other side of the power, does it? No. Seems to be shorter though. But where does it go to then? Is it short to ground? Doesn't mean, or is it just a resistor across it that's measuring low resistance? That's another issue. 20 ohms. Certainly not high. Oh well, if in doubt, plug it in and see what it does. Ah, bloody works of course, although it's flickering and carrying on. Don't tell me it's just a faulty capacitor. Yeah, I thought that both died, but maybe not. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a faulty capacitor. This meter's playing up now. eBay specials for you. That volt has still got about 18 volts. It's going down slowly. We'll let that discharge. The multimeter is probably helping with that. It's a 4.7 microfarad at 400. Go with flat. What's the bet? That's not great. 6.8 is not that bad, I don't think. 4.7 in it. It's not that far out. It's 400 volts, that might actually be okay. So what's flickering then? Yeah, when you short across that, the others try and light up. The same there, they're all kind of doing a low. Wasn't that the one that I had it on before? Or do I need a higher voltage now? Oh, it's going that way. What the? Oh. Well, that's completely confusing. Because that goes through that chip. That makes that one light, so something's not happy, I don't think. Shouldn't that one be shorter to that? How the hell on earth? Can't possibly light that, because they're short together there. If I go there, we don't get those two. That gets all of the ones around to there. That should be shorter than that one though, surely. Oh no, it's on the other side of that LED, so that's no big deal. I went the wrong way around anyway, I think. So I was pretty happy with those. Very weird. So now I get that flickering. I wonder if that's an issue. Is that the issue? The unit. So they're all good to there. That LED segment's shot. What's the bet? Is that little bugger there's shot, I think. So this can be useful. They're fine. So which one is it? Number 7 there, I think, is our issue. If we can get that little bugger off there. These ones are a bit different, aren't they? So we wouldn't know if these are the same or not. So it is a dead lead. just junk LEDs. But interesting to see what fails, but it seems to be that is what fails. I don't know if you can remove these things or anything. Of course they're on aluminium, so it's going to suck a mountain of heat out of it. I don't know what people do to repair these. Can you just short the bloody thing out? Oh, that might be an idea just for now. Just for this tester. Why don't I just, now I've tinned it. I don't know if these little ICs and these things can sort of self-regulate, or whether they just burn all the other ones out, at least eventually. Yeah, very hard to get any heat into that. So I'm not sure we can solder to it in a hurry. It's actually melting the LED chip, I think. It's not doing, oh god, it's just making a mess. I think I'm getting connected to something though. If I get those little blobs of solder to stay there. Rubbish. Well, I guess the point is I don't need to hook to that one necessarily because they're all in series. Oh, there's a nice bit of metal on the end of it seemingly, and you start heating it and it just melts away or something. Maybe that's half the trouble with these rubbishy little things. They're not very well connected to. Very hard to make a connection to them. Maybe I should just use a clip lead or something. I guess there's no chance of scraping into that. Whatever's under there. Is it even a copper track? Oh, there is copper under there. Ah, well, I'll be damned. I was actually starting to think this will just be some plastic rubbish. But there is copper there by the look of it. Can you even tin it, or is it going to suck all the heat out? Oh, it is unbelievable. It's sucking heat out. Probably should turn the soldering iron right up, but there we have a short. Hopefully now we're actually connected to something. Let's turn this right back up, and it was, it should be on 5 and 6 really, shouldn't it, I think? Still nothing. But they're at least bright and stay bright. Yeah, we get them all come up not very well. Maybe that's, well, I've shorted it out. I guess the only other thing to do is plug it into the 240 volts and see if it goes bang. And it may well. Well, it's running. So it's definitely that little LED segment. Man, that's bright without the diffuser on it, and it's probably brighter than it should be because of the, it's probably somewhere where it should be. Yep, so faulty LED and faulty LED ball. Look, I don't know if we can do anything with this one. I don't think I'll bother even. I could have a look at what's under there, I guess, before I chuck it completely in the rubbish. I guess we meant to unsolder that other board. We probably are. I'll just force it out anyway. Now, there we go. One LED disc, yeah, definitely on that piece of aluminium. And this is all mounted down. So we've got a perfectly good bit here. Very similar to that fluorescent light. Where did I throw that? Oh, there it is. Oh well, they're mirror images, but yeah, very similar sort of little thing, I guess. That's got more electrolytic caps in it, or is that another inductor? No, maybe not. I guess we might as well open her up and have a look. It's got some sort of, it's got some sort of foily, foamy stuff on the inside, has it? Brilliant. Just when you think it'd be nice and easy to get rid of it, yeah, it's actually got like an aluminium coating, I think. I guess I got to protect the, that's what it is, a piece of aluminium, I think. Or is it? It is foam on the inside though, is it? Oh, that's just the glue on top, that's what it is, that's what's throwing me. So it looks like a sandwiched bit of white and aluminium, but... So this is the worthless stuff they're made out of. Weird sort of plastic that tears. Whether that was meant to be like that or it's gone brittle. I mean, these didn't, pretty sure these ones didn't last very long at all. Like ridiculously short time, less than an incandescent lamp. So I don't think, and usually Philips you can rely on, and one thing I did like of Philips is their light bulbs. They used to make really good light bulbs, which is what they started out making in the first place, I think. Wasn't a big fan of their electronics a lot of the time, but their light bulbs were good. But doesn't look like we can rely on them anymore. And I mean, even Osram, they were a good company too once upon a time. Or a good brand. It's probably not even a company anymore is the problem. It's just some brand people put on stuff these days. So anyway, I can get them. I guess we've got to remove this a little bit. Can I get that to come off? I'll get that off. Yeah, if I get that off, I can probably snip this open maybe. I think I need to cut it with something. Well, I certainly made them solid in the fitting sense. I'm just going to make a nice little pile of rubbish. Just got to watch you don't cut yourself with this sort of stuff, pretty dangerous. As far as cutting your skin. Oh, there's the wires just they actually just pulled out, I think, or did they break off? It's just some sort of weird... They're not the old solder fittings they always used to have on a proper incandescent globe. Oh, they just fell off. Yeah, I think they're like little push fit things. Really? You put your bare wire in there. Well, it's interesting to know. If I'd known that, I could have just popped them out. That would have saved me a heap of time and tearing things to bits. Yeah, they're just like a press fit thing. Obviously you don't have that bit sticking out. So you could have just like popped these out and the wiring comes out. Yeah, very brown. Cooked already. I don't think either of them did very long hours either. One of them might have. So yeah, bridge rectifier, little IC, diode, 2 electrolytic capacitors, a 1 micro 400 volt and a 3.3 micro 400, little inductor, another little inductor, so a little transformer type thing, just a little choke, fusible resistor, even says FR1, so that's like your fuse if something goes wrong in here, shorted bridge, shorted IC or something. So that's about it for that lot. Interesting to see what was in the Fluoro one, but these things do work pretty well. I'm quite happy with them. About $20 for a pair of them. So if you're going to be paying sort of close to half of that for a couple of fluorescent tubes, which blink and flicker potentially and don't have the longest lives always, if you're doing high hours, and I think they're around the same sort of brightness level. And this one, yeah, this is one faulty LED segment. It's almost tempting to put that in a, short those wires together and just put it in something, see how long it lasts. But I don't think I can really be bothered. I guess I could even use it here somewhere. But all that can go in the rubbish, I think. So yeah, just a useless e-waste collector. Though admittedly the replacement globes, whatever I bought for these, have lasted. Don't think I've had an LED one go for a little while, so maybe they just had a bad batch of Chinese LEDs or something that caused issues, even though the ones in each lamp there are different looking. These are 2-terminal. Are they the 2-terminal? One of them was 2-terminal. and the other one was 4. Yeah, this was the sort of 2 though. The more I look at it, you wonder whether, no, I think they're definitely 2. I guess it could be 4 terminals and 2 of them sort of just soldered together or something, but looks like that's got the same bit of aluminium in it. So there's a bit of aluminium in them, I guess, to keep them cool. But yeah, I did like the idea someone was suggesting about getting rid of these covers if you could safely, especially if they're in like a glass light fitting. But of course, even then you got the danger if a random person, alright, if you do it for yourself and you know what you're doing, but if some other random person comes along and goes to grab this and unplug it with a power still on or something because it's blown and you don't realise it's on, just too dangerous, because you've basically got 240 volts there and 240 on the other things. That other one might be a little bit safer, but even then you've still got 100 odd volts on the LEDs, so I wouldn't recommend doing anything silly like that. But it does make sense that this keeps a lot of heat in there. Shame they couldn't sort of vent them or something in a way that obviously no one can get in there, but then you get spiders and dust, and guess the safest way to make them is just seal them up like that. But they still got the issue of heat, even though they're a lot more efficient than an incandescent globe. But an incandescent globe was made out of parts that can handle heat. It's just metal and glass basically. So yeah, oh, well, there you go. But I think we'll call it quits on that one for now. I'll chuck that other fluoro one away, and I might buy a few more of those fluorescent ones to upgrade a few fittings, and hopefully we don't get a repeat of these Philips and Osrams and stuff. Yeah, made in China of course, made out of dodgy parts that fail. So thanks for watching.